Dead Space Remake. What a freaking legend of a game. I know it's been out for a good 5 or 6 months now, but I only just got my hands on a copy of it, and I have to say, after just finishing it earlier today, this has to be one of the best games of the year, if not ever. I know Resident Evil 4 Remake was like also a very good game, but maybe it's a bit of recency bias, but I think I actually prefer Dead Space Remake. So guys, you know what? You're not here to listen to me babble on about nonsense. What I want to show you is the settings I would recommend using a GTX laptop. You're probably going to be paired with a quad-core CPU, so on the CPU side as well as the GPU side, you're going to be under spec for Dead Space Remake. However, the game still plays pretty well. So what I want to show you here is these are the settings I recommend, and then I'm just going to show you how it runs, and then what I want you to do in Windows that's going to help you a little bit. So under display and graphics, video options, I am playing at 1080p on full screen. My refresh rate is 120 Hertz. Motion blur I put to times 15, which is slightly noticeable but not too bad. Colorblind mode, just leave that. Switch this off. Anti-aliasing, AMD Fidelity FX, Super Resolution 2, obviously. And then you can set this to quality, but the thing is you're going to lose about 5 FPS. So you lose a little bit of sharpness if you put it on balanced, but by putting on balanced you do gain about 5 FPS. Graphics quality overall, I don't recommend the low preset because you actually lose the thing that makes Dead Space Remake so fantastic, the visuals, the reflections. So what I recommend is first and foremost go ahead and set it on the low settings preset. But then what you're going to do is you're going to put reflection quality on high. And the reason I say this is because the reflection somehow is not too expensive a setting in Dead Space Remake. But with reflections on high, this game pops, I promise you. As what everything else is on low, except for you're going to switch on screen space ambient occlusion. And then depth of field on low, volumetric resolution on low, shadow quality on low, light quality on low, and then reflection quality on high, ambient occlusion on. So I just want to show you what type of performance you can expect with these settings. And okay, so I am using GeForce Experience to record this. I am losing about 2-3 FPS, just bear that in mind. But this route that I'm going to walk now, I'm going to show you, the FPS goes up all the way into the 70s, and then it drops down into the late 40s, and that's exactly the reason why I'm using this area to do my benchmark and this video. So as you can see, we're in the 50s, in the 60s, and mind you, it looks freaking awesome like this, but you are going to experience your frame drops. See, there we're going down to the mid 40s, but it still looks pretty crisp, sharp and good. And then, so you can see it's generally in the 50s, goes up to the 60s and 70s every now and then, but there are drops down into the 40s, and that's why I'm going to show you what I do recommend. So guys, that's it for the in-game settings. Just to go over it again quickly, under settings, display and graphics, AMD Fidelity FX Super Resolution I recommend putting on balanced. Everything else on low except for reflection quality, put it on high, because reflections make this game pop, I promise you. If you play it, you'll see exactly what I mean. And then you can switch on ambient occlusion. Now what we're going to do is, there's no custom capping of FPS in the game. So what we're going to do is we're going to set the game to high priority. I normally do it via Reg Edit, but because this game is either done by Epic Store, which you can't set the high priority via Reg Edit, you have to do it via Process Lasso. And then also I'm going to show you how to cap the FPS. I'm going to recommend you cap the FPS to 45, and then use Process Lasso to put Dead Space Remake into a state of high priority every time you launch it. So next is Windows settings. Right guys, so in terms of Windows settings, what I recommend you do is via River Tuner Statistics, what I recommend you do is just find your Dead Space executable. I've got this via the Epic Store and I installed it to my D drive, so just go ahead and select your Dead Space executable. Okay. And then what we're going to do is we're going to cap it to 45. Now we're just going to have much smoother gameplay, because as you saw earlier, this FPS goes up to the 70s but it dips down to 45. So I'd much rather have a stable, smooth experience at 45 FPS. You will find in certain CPU heavy areas, you know, when there's a lot going on the screen, there will be momentary drops in FPS, but it's not that often. Okay, and then the next step is I normally recommend that people set games to automatic high priority via regedit, but because Dead Space Remake is either via Steam or Epic Store only, there's no crack available. That means that because there's a Steam and it's Epic Store and there's an extra launcher, setting Dead Space Remake to high priority in regedit is not going to work. So I recommend just downloading and installing Process Lasso, opening up Dead Space, and once Dead Space is running, you open up Process Lasso and it will be under all processes by default. You go to active processes, you find your Dead Space Remake over here, find your Dead Space Remake executable, and then CPU priority, you're going to go to always, and then you're going to put it to high. Don't really recommend real time with Dead Space Remake, just go ahead and put it on high. So every time now that you open up Dead Space Remake, it's going to be running in high priority. I generally don't recommend using Process Lasso, so because normally I say just set games to high priority via regedit, but because it's not available for Dead Space, what I recommend is restart your computer, just close your Process Lasso, but then when you do play Dead Space Remake, just go ahead and open up Process Lasso, because as soon as Process Lasso opens up, it's going to automatically put Dead Space into a state of high priority. Anyways guys, thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, please hit me up in the comment section. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to smash that like button. If you're still watching and you haven't subscribed as of yet, now's the time to do so. Guys, there's people like you. Thank you for watching. Cheers.